we're going to be looking at the prayer that Jesus gives in John chapter 17, but only a section of that prayer. He prays for several things. One, he is going to be praying for himself. Then he's going to be praying for those who are around him, his current disciples. Then he's going to pray for his future disciples, those that would never have seen him, those that would come after his resurrection, and individuals that was, and I don't know if Barnabas ever saw Jesus at all. It doesn't say that he ever did, or that Silas did. Certainly Timothy could not have. But this is not just a prayer for those disciples that would come immediately afterwards, still in the first century. This would be for all time. This goes even to us, and I do have a sermon in which I discuss that we are in the Bible, and this is one of those places where we are in the Bible. And Jesus is praying for us as much as he is praying for a Timothy, or for a Priscilla and Aquila, or for an Apollos that would come later in the first century. He's praying for us as much as he is for them, and those beyond us, those in between the first century and the 21st century. He's praying for us all. And this is a telling prayer. It is revealing certain things, actually, and some rather astonishing things. But we just ask the question, why shouldn't he be praying for his church in the future? Why shouldn't he be doing that? And do you always have to pray for something that is currently in line, or rather currently existing? Because at this point, his church didn't exist. Disciples, yes. The groundwork, yes. His church, no. At this point in time, he did not have all authority. At this point in time, he had not been crucified. He had not fulfilled all of his duty as of yet. Now he would, but at this point he doesn't. Or he hasn't, I should say. Now let's begin in John 17, verse 20. And it starts off like this: I do not pray for these alone, but also those who will believe in me through their word. Now, here is an extraordinary insight in this. First off, he knows this is faith, I tell you. It is faith that Jesus knew there was going to be his church, and that it was going to go through time to the very end when he returns and judges the earth. He knew that was going to be the case. He knew it then. And I tell you, it was faith that he knew that. Not that he was not that he was the Son of God and that he's deity in the flesh, but I personally believe it was faith that he knew that was going to happen, and a trust in the working of God that was going to happen. He knew there was going to be a church and that it would never, ever stop on this earth until this earth is no more. That church is ushered right into heaven. Now, he's saying, I don't pray for these alone, those that are currently living at that time, but for others, currently his disciples at that time, but for those who will believe in me through their word. You know, he hasn't even given the Great Commission yet. He hasn't given that. Limited commission, yeah, he's done that. He's sent out the 70. He's sent out the 12. He's sent them out to various places there in Israel, but the Great Commission, no. And the whole idea of, as we made mention this morning, of Acts chapter 1, that it all begins in Jerusalem, then goes to Judea, then Samaria, then the uttermost parts of the world. He knew that was going to happen. And he knew it was going to be spread by evangelism. He knew that. And he knew it was going to be successfully done. That it will be from house to house. It will be from person to person. From a disciple to someone learning. He knew that was going to be the case. And he knew also, this is knowing a lot, that there would be believers. Now, he's already been giving parables concerning this. Parables of the parable of the sower is just one. Of the seed being sown. And it doesn't matter who is sowing that seed. It doesn't matter, because the one sowing the seed doesn't have to be the Son of God. The one sowing the seed can be anybody. Okay? And knowing that it is the Word that is powerful. It's not the disciples that make it powerful. It's the Word itself is powerful enough to change hearts. And he knew there would be those who believe long after he ascended into heaven and is seated at the right hand of God. He knew this. And this is being revealed personally in a prayer that is between him and the Father. Now, verse 21. That they may be one. And notice, defining this unity. That they may be united. As you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that you sent me. Here is absolute unity. Men can be united together, and as we can see with Herod and Pontius Pilate, that they are united against God. Okay, that is a unity that wasn't there, yes. But that's not what I would term as absolute unity. Matter of fact, that was just political. They're just amusing each other is what they're doing. This appreciation in the twisted nature of the other. That's all that amounted to. But you can have men who are united together, even not united against God. They're united together, but not united with God. That's not absolute. Absolute is where you have men. They are united with each other, and they are united with the Godhead. There is no greater unity than that. And someone in a congregation that wants to have unity at all cost inside that congregation, and I do mean unity at all cost, that is a dangerous thing, because there won't be unity with God for very long. That anybody that comes around wants to upset things, trying to bring about compromises. Well, to be united with them means that compromises have to be met. And making those compromises means that you've lost that connection with God. You've got to reunite yourself with the Godhead by way of His doctrine, not somebody else's desires or their conscience or their little doctrine or whatever it happens to be. That God, we're not united to God by those things, but only by His will. And here is this very similar thing that is given here, that the world may believe that you sent me. With this unity, this unity speaks volumes. That there is a power here that cannot be ignored. Oh, people ignore it. But it's showing something. It is proof in something. That there is a unity here and a continuation in with the church, the beginnings of it, and then the continuation of it, and the unity that is there in congregations and between congregations, and also with God. That there is something that is seen by this, that they may believe. Here is this potential that you sent me. As we read this morning from Romans 1:17, the part of that verse, matter of fact, the first part of that verse, the righteousness of God is revealed from faith to faith. Yeah, it is revealed from faith. It's revealed that way. Having this unity under doctrine is, well, it's because of a faith in a doctrine. That's what it is. And that here one can show the righteousness of God, and one can be taught the righteousness of God, that it is revealed from faith to faith. Now, let's go to verse 22. And this is one of these astonishing things in this prayer. And the glory which you gave me, I have given them, that they may be one just as we are one. Now, the glory which God gave His Son is shared with us. That same glory He gave Him is the same glory Jesus gives to His church. Now, we'll discuss that for a second, because there are certain things we can't do that Christ did, but that's not the glory He's talking about. It can't be the glory He's talking about. Okay? The fact that He can perform miracles of any sort at any point that He wants to. Is that the glory? I would have to say, no, that's not the glory under discussion. Is that something glorious? I won't deny that, but that's not the glory under discussion. That's not what He's talking about. While that is astonishing, and there is a rather prominent religious movement, been around for a while, of wanting the fantastic, wanting the miraculous, wanting the mystical, wanting all that. And I would say that you're going to find that in any group of people. You're going to find some, and I mean large groups of people, some that are drawn to that. And they're going to see that as being the glory of God given to someone. But that's not what Jesus is describing. That's not the glory that's being given. What is that glory? One is the identical love given from the Father to the Son is the love given from the Son to us. He's going to say that in verse 23. That's part of it. But there's another part. One, what is Christ? He is a king. Is there a glory in that? Yes. What about His church? Kings and priests serving in that way. Does that mean glory? Yes. To the eyes of the world, we're nothing but the meager, the lackluster nothing. But to God, we are completely different. Because of meekness, because of hungering and thirsting after righteousness, because of actually being sorrowful and repentant toward sin. That makes us different in His eyes. Being saved, we are among the sanctified. Is that being glorified? Yes. In Revelation chapter 7, we have that of the marking of those who belong to God. Now, it's symbolically called the 144,000. All right? The 144,000. That's a symbolic number. And we'll just say this, I've said it before. God is not about to give the sum total of those among the saved. He's not going to do it. All right? Does He know that number? I'm going to say, obviously, He knows that number. Is He going to give it to us? No, He's not going to give it to us. But He can give a symbolic number that represents the saved. But here is the thing. Receiving that seal, Receiving that seal, is that not honor? Yes, it is. There are people that work for prizes such as with the Olympics and receive gold, silver, bronze. Okay? Is that not an honor bestowed upon them? Yes. They won it. They received it. It's an honor bestowed. But what about the Christian? Is that not glory given to them? Well, yeah, it's an earthly glory. And as Paul states, it's one that fades away. You get a crown it's a nothing of a crown. I mean, after so many years, nobody remembers it, and then beyond that, it just vanishes altogether. I mean, literally. But what about those who receive that seal of God? What about those? Is that not glory from God? And the answer to that is yes, it is. Yes, it is. Now we go to verse 23. I in them and you in me, there's that unity, that they may be made perfect in one. That's the idea. Perfect in this unity, being made perfect exactly as they desire us, that is the Godhead, desires us to be, exactly what the blood of Christ cleanses us to be holy before Him, and that the world may know that you sent me and have loved them as you have loved me. So the same amount of love that is given to Christ is the same amount of love given to us. Does the Father love the Son? Yes. Does the Godhead love us? Yes. Without question. The fact that we have these words given to us through centuries in the works, and then centuries in protection and bringing it out to where it's available to anybody. That shows a love, an astonishing love. But that of Christ dying for our sins, that also shows extraordinary love. That He would even be willing to be on this earth in the form of one of us. That He would be willing to be tempted like we are, and yet without sin. That He would be willing to bring Himself into this world to face the torment and the persecution and the basic sorrow and agony that would be part of this, with us a little bit, with Him far more so. He was willing to do it. He's willing to do it for us. So did He not already express that love at the cross? Yes, and He's expressing that love in this prayer before He even gets to the cross. He's expressing that love. And that the same amount of love that was provided for the Christ is the same amount of love that is provided to us. Now, does that mean, we just make this comparison again. Christ said that if He desired it, if He wanted it, He could bring down 12 legions of angels. Does that mean we can do that? No. Does that mean that God loves us less? No. Not at all. Okay, let me just ask you this question. Would you trust a 3-year-old with your loaded shotgun? Okay, neither would God trust us with 12 legions of angels. Okay, if that were the case, I'll just tell you this now, we would not have a traffic problem here. All right, I would have put them to work. Okay, you wouldn't entrust me, nor anybody else for that matter. Does that mean God, does that mean God doesn't love us? course He loves us. But there are certain things we just don't need to touch. There are certain things that need to be off limits. And yeah, that would be one thing. Okay, now, we are glorified in the same way that Christ was glorified. We are loved the same way that He was loved. Verse 24, Father, I desire that they also whom you gave me may be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory which you have given me. For you loved me before the foundation of the world. Okay, so let's just fix on this one, this part for a bit. You loved me before the foundation of the world. Yes, that goes to eternity. This love between Father and Son. It has been there. Is that same love toward us? Yes. Yes. And all we have to do is begin reading Ephesians chapter 1, and we'll see where that is the case. That God always knew there would be His church. He always knew there would be the righteous. He knew that. And that there is a love given to the righteous that isn't... everyone receives love. Yes. Everybody. But it's the righteous who have accepted, I should say, accepted that greatest part of the love. That greatest, and trust in Him in all things. Now, we go to verse 24. The beginning of it, I mean. Father, I desire that they also whom you gave me may be with me where I am. Now, He told some of the Jews, where I go, you can't come. All right? And they're thinking, they have no idea what He means by that. What's He going to go to the Gentiles? We can't go to the Gentiles. He's going to go to the Gentiles. That's not what He meant. All right? You are so far off the path. He's telling them, and these would be very harsh words to hear from your Creator, but your Creator, our Creator, He's judge. And He has the responsibility of being a righteous judge. He is saying to them, where I'm going, heaven, you can't go. You remain, and of course the implication is you remain this way, you can't go. You'll never see it. I'll be there. There'll be those who came from the east and the west. There'll be others who were there sitting with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, sitting down with them, and you're missing. You are conspicuously missing in this. Now, He says that they may be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory, which you have given me. And the glorified Christ, when He was on this earth, He was in the flesh. All right? Looking just like an ordinary man on the earth. Nothing extraordinary about His appearance. He did not have a halo. That comes from Greek mythology, by the way. He did, and just filtering right on in. There was no way that another human could identify the Christ just by His appearance. That's not the... Now, if the prophets gave us those clues, if the prophets gave us such a thing, then we could, but that's not the way He's identified. But if it were by the way of looks, well, people can disguise themselves quickly, but they cannot fill all of the prophecies. Only the Son of God can do such a thing. Now, the glorified Christ, Revelation chapter 1, we see, or rather John sees the glorified Christ. Eyes like a flame of fire. Feet like bronze that have been refined in fire, in a great furnace. And you have this power that just radiates from Him. And the glorified Christ, you know, if an angel was impressive enough, and like with John in the vision that he's given, an angel is impressive enough to where one would fall down and want to worship him. This, the glorified Christ, much more so. Much more so. And to see that glory that's been given to Him now. Because you can't put Him on the cross now. You can't put Him on trial now. You can't do that. You cannot in any way think that you have defeated Him, because you can't. Now we go to verse 25. O righteous Father, the world has not known you, but I have known you, and these have known you, that you sent me. How did they know the Father? They knew the Father when they understood and knew the Son. They followed Him. And they followed Him because they saw the proofs, the evidence, everything that He did, everything that He spoke, His entire demeanor went hand in hand with the prophets. Every bit. What people did around Him, also revealed by the prophets. All these things being ticked off one by one, just thing after thing, prophecy after prophecy after prophecy after prophecy. And as many of them said, will the Son of David do greater things than this? What would they be? If this is not the Son of David, what's the Son of David going to be doing when He arrives? Because He's doing a lot of things we would have expected the Son of David, the Messiah, to be doing. He's doing them. Matter of fact, He's doing them all. Now, the world doesn't know you. In ignorance, in darkness, and don't ever think that the ancient past, with its paganism and its superstitions, was some sort of golden age, because it wasn't. Some sort of paradise in the past that can't be repeated, some sort of idealized kind of landscape and people. They weren't. They were under superstitions. And superstitions, they rule over your life. All right? And they can be pretty harsh, depending on the culture. They can be out and out harsh, to where, you know, if you want to survive, you better leave now, because you may be the next human sacrifice. You may be the next one that they do X, Y, and Z to for this particular God. Okay? The world has not known you to this day. Those words are true. Now, does most of the world know concerning the God of the Bible? Yeah, most of the world knows about the Bible. The God of the Bible. Yes, that just by loose abstract, yes, the Bible is written supposedly by God, and so you have the God of the Bible, okay, and then Christ is also in the Bible, and all of that, just these loose ideas, and that's about it. Do they know Him? No, they don't to this day. Just as ignorant, just as much in the shadow as always have been. That hasn't changed. Now, he defines here those who will believe in me through their word, that they have known that you sent me. They know you sent me. This is why they believe. They believe these things and will believe these things. And it's all because of the Word of God being taught. Verse 26. And I have declared to them your name and will declare it, that the love with which you love me may be in them and I in them. Here is this shared love. Here is this unity that is there. Truly, we can't do any of this without the love of God. We can't. This would be too harsh of a place for God just to pull up stakes and there is no love given to us whatsoever. No avenue of prayer, nothing. And that Christ somehow, though He died for the church, cares nothing for it. Now that's just an absurdity. Yes, He does. He died for the church and He loves His church. He loves His church. And this is eternal love from the Godhead. It's not limited to just a short period of time. This is intended to be and offered forever. This prayer reveals a lot. Reveals a lot known by the Godhead, but now revealed to us through this prayer. And this is a unique thing because Jesus is not teaching, He's praying. And these facts coming out from this makes this extraordinary. And this prayer is an extraordinary part of the New Testament. Now we need to look at our lives, and we need to look where we are. Judgment, the day of judgment, will arrive as promised, unexpected in the future, and certain. And everything about the day of judgment will occur with the judging of all mankind and the separation for eternity of those who volunteered, as we read this morning, volunteered to be with God, those who desired God, and those who did not. There is that eternal separation made there, and it will occur. You can know it. We ask this evening, if you need to respond to the invitation, if we can help you in any way, we ask that you come as we stand and sing.